You know, Samurai Guitarist.
What's that, Sean?
The best things come in threes.
Like what?
Indiana Jones movies, the ones that I count.
Star Wars movies, the ones that I count.
And blues tips. So we got 3 easy, the easiest of easy blues tips for you today.
I actually count 6 Star Wars movies. I like the prequels. I'm fine with the prequels. I grew up with the prequels.
We can talk more about this as the lesson goes on. I'm not fine with the prequels, but what I am fine is with your fire blues playing. So what do we want to start? We're doing this all in the key of A.
Key of A.
Right?
Yeah, easy blues tips that are going to make things that much easier for you that you should be able to implement like right away.
Right away, nice.
So the first thing and the easiest thing is just to play a little bit less, a lot of bit less. Like a thing that a lot of guitar players do is they just fill up space. So just note after note. So stuff like that. It's just note after note after note. It's a run-on sentence. And one of the things that I really like to think about when I'm playing guitar is leaving some space, creating some natural spacing as if you're telling a story. Like you want to think about musical sentences. So instead of just going run-on sentence, like it's a run-on sentence, just note after note. It's hard to follow. But if I break it up, leave a breath there. It's almost like it's a punctuation.
So let's talk about just those specific notes. What are you playing right there?
Well, so I'm kind of combining the major and minor pentatonic scales, the A major and A minor pentatonic scale.
Okay.
So, so if this is our A major pentatonic scale,
that would be the light side of the force.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I'm mixing that with the dark side of the force.
Yeah. The Sith scale.
Yeah, so you can kind of like use those as a general framework, and I actually want to come back to that for another tip.
Okay.
But using those 2 pentatonic scales, you can do a lot with the blues. But let's even just like focus on the minor pentatonic scale. So I'll just use that for a little bit here.
Okay, dark side. I like it.
Just the dark side. So instead of just filling up all your space with notes, because this is a thing guitarists naturally do, is we can just there's nothing stopping us from playing. Whereas with like a saxophone player or a trumpet player, they have to take these natural breaths. They break up their phrases, which gives it a natural pace to it. And I think a lot of guitar players just end up defaulting to too many notes, too many notes, too many notes. Mm-hmm. So one of the exercises I recommend that everybody does is just try playing some blues stuff. Don't get too crazy and just see how little space you can possibly leave to the point where it feels like it's too much space. And if you could record yourself, you might realize like when you listen back, it actually sounds pretty good. So why don't you play just a little bit of a blues progression, and I'm going to leave what I would consider to be like a lot of space.
Cool.
And when you're listening, you might be like, that actually sounds quite good, but I'm going to try like going overboard here with the amount of space. So.
2, 3, 4.
So like, to me, that's way more interesting of a solo than if I'm just playing note after note after note. I'm giving the audience something to follow along to. It has a natural progression to the story. It's almost as like you're like listening to somebody speak. And if you listen to someone speak and they leave natural pauses and punctuations, it's so much easier to follow than if someone just like runs on with their sentences.
I like the thing about breathing, because listen, you're not Bib Fortuna of the Cantina Band. You don't have multiple mouths to breathe through while you're playing your instrument.
I do not.
Right? You're just a human, allegedly.
Yeah, and another way you can think about this too, if you want to try, is like try singing along with your solos. Like it's not easy at first, and at first you might just be finding that your voice is following what you're doing, but you're gonna naturally have to incorporate breaths as you sing.
Nice. You know what else is great?
What's that?
Hose Cables.
Love
This video is sponsored by Sweetwater and Hosa. We are using the Premier Series, the best of the Hosa cables right here. No noise. Look at him jiggling it around.
Nothing.
Can you do that with your cable and not have any noise? Didn't think so. Get that perfect, pristine.
You can always count on Hosa cables.
They're great. I'm a big fan. Use their XLR and their quarter inches for
Love it.
for so much of what I do. So I'll have an affiliate link in the description. Check it out if you're fancy. I want to take a moment to apologize. Bib Fortuna was not the leader of the Cantina band. It is Figurin Dan. I thought it was Max Rebo. Max Rebo came into my mind later. Isn't he the elephant dude?
Isn't he the bartender? No, he's the guy who's just like playing the organ.
I consider him the leader.
Figurin Dan. His alias is Barbarine. He's the brother of Bar Queen Dan. I love how deep the lore goes.
Are you on Wikipedia right now? Next tip!
Starting to think about playing the changes. So there are 3 chords in a blues progression. You have the 1 chord for 4 bars. You have the 4 chord for 2 bars. Back to the 1 chord, 2 bars. And then you go 5, 1 bar, 4, 1 bar, 1 bar, 5, 1 bar. So with each of those chords, you can just kind of throw a blanket scale over top of those. You can just do A minor pentatonic all the way. But if you start thinking about treating each one of those chords slightly differently, it really brings in a sense of playing the changes. Like you're tying what you do into the guitar closer into the harmony, what's happening underneath. And so the easiest way to do that is just kind of think of certain target notes. So we're going to use the A minor pentatonic scale as kind of our reference point. It's a framework for where most of our notes and our solo are going to come from. But when we're playing over top of the 1 chord, the A7 in the A blues, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on this note right here, the C sharp. So what we're going to do, and that is the 6th fret of the G string, by the way. So as I'm soloing over top of that A7 chord, I'm going to kind of highlight that note. I'm going to put a musical spotlight on that note. So just give me a strum on an A7 chord. So listen to this. There's that note right there. So I'm kind of coming back to it, or I could do stuff like, give me another strum.
Connect that note to that chord.
So I keep on kind of going back there. I'm shining that musical spotlight on there.
Okay.
Okay? And so when we go to the D7, we're removing that out of the equation. Now we're just focusing on the C. So give me a D7. Now I'm shining a musical spotlight on that note. When we go to the E7, we're going to shine a musical spotlight on a different note. This one is the G sharp. So play me that E7. That note there. And so on each of those different chords, if we think about using our A minor pentatonic scale as our framework, and then using those notes as kind of the anchor points, the places where we're going to try to draw some attention to, it's going to sound like we're playing over top of the chord changes.
So when you pick it, like, you picked a major third for one of them and a dominant 7 for another one, is there like a specific
So really what I'm
that?
actually thinking about more is I'm trying to highlight what notes wouldn't necessarily work over top of the other chords. So if you played, so for that for that C sharp over top of the A,
yeah,
you wouldn't play that note over top of the D7.
Right. Because you got a C.
Yeah, and so over top of the A7 and the D7, like you wouldn't play a G sharp there. So yeah, so if you play like a D7, that's pretty ugly. Play me an A7. Like that's pretty ugly, but it works only over top of the E. So what I'm trying to do is I'm pointing out like where the differences are between the chords, because all the other notes for the most part can kind of like sound fine over top of the other ones.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm saying, okay, this is different. This is something that's unique to this chord, or more unique to it, or sounds especially
this
good.
This is like a special little section.
Special little section.
Like for Andor, that's the one they decided to give a good storyline in writing to.
Yeah.
They're like, this will be a special thing that Andor only gets.
Love Andor.
That's how you know it.
Yeah, so why don't we do a blues progression, and I'm going to think about this. I'm going to think about trying to shine my musical spotlights on these places.
2, 3, 4. Tasty.
Yeah,
That's
so
nice.
It just adds a new dimension instead of just thinking, okay, A minor, A minor, A minor over top of all this stuff. Just adding that sort of thing, thinking about that kind of thing brings in a different element and kind of maturity to a blues solo.
That's a great tip. And that's a great tone from that Hosa cable.
Great tone for the Hosa
And
cable.
the Music Man Saber guitar, and I'm rocking the Martin D18.
Yeah.
Great combo. We need one more tip. Threes. It's got to come in threes.
So this is more of a rhythm tip. This is a way to make the rhythm guitar that's happening underneath a little bit more interesting. So there's a couple places that you can do like these walk-ups as far as the bass line is concerned. And what these are is you're basically trying to set up the next chord. You're building some tension into the next chord in the progression. And so the first place that I like to think of doing this is in the fourth bar of the first chord. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically walking up, setting up that D7. Starting on the A, and I'm going to move and set up tension that's going to release really nicely into the A7. So if I'm playing my my progression, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, third bar, fourth bar, and now I'm into my D7 there.
Okay.
And so that, what I'm doing is I'm kind of walking up chromatically into the D. So the last bar of the A, the fourth bar of the A goes 1, 2, 3, 4. So you do the A, open string, A, and you hit these each twice. Then the second fret, third fret, fourth fret, and that's right before that root note D. It just really sets that up. It creates this tension, and it releases really nicely into that D7. So the D7 no longer just comes out of nowhere. It's you're building into that, and it sounds so good when you go into this. So why don't I'll play some rhythm here, just do a couple licks, and you'll hear how it really sets up that next chord nicely.
Go for it.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, Sean, might we set up the E7 as well in a similar way?
I like this. My favorite thing is actually going to that last E7. So I think the interesting thing to know, like, all right, which chromatics work where? Because it's not a true chromatic, because we're going open 2, 3, 4. A chromatic would be open 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. But you get the idea, right? My favorite one is actually the one at the end. So basically, we're walking. Got it. A to E. So a 1 to a 5 walk. So that last part at the end, the very end of the 12 bars, you go from 1 to 5 before you turn around back to 1. So the way to think of the intervals is like, all right, if I'm just doing it with fretted things, I'm going to do it fretted so you can move this into any key. So if we've got the 5th fret on the E string, which is the A, this chromatic walk is going to go from the root note to its major third. So again, you just go diagonal 1 down a string. So 5, E4, A5, A6, A into the 7 chord for E7, right?
Yeah.
Or you could go down and open it up if you want.
Yeah, and you're talking about, like, this is right at the very end of the progression.
Exactly, that 1 to 5, because remember it goes...
This is bar 11 and bar 12.
Yes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and let's turn it around. Or you could even do Hendrix. The little Jimmy chord.
Yeah, and now we're getting into, like, this is the solo movie of the tips here. Like, this is additional.
Sure.
This is beyond the 3.
High-key, I think Solo might be my favorite movie of the Star Wars franchise since the originals.
Wow.
Is that a hot take? Let me know, because I feel like Solo's like the most Star Wars movie.
No, I really
Solo.
I really like that movie.
You know, if you rearrange the letters of Han Solo, you get Hosa cables.
Ew.
Or at least part of it. Don't worry about it. Don't think too hard about it.
Yeah, they're all there.
Yeah, the Hosa part is there.
I was looking for the A. I was like, what? There's no
Hosa
A.
kind of sounds like a Star Wars name.
Yeah.
Hosa Fortuna. It's
Fortuna?
Bib's son.
You know, with a lot of these walks, you can also, like, expand on them, too. Like, there's some cool stuff you can do. Some bonus tips here.
Yeah? Bonus
So,
tips.
like, for that A one, you could turn each one of those root notes. You turn each of those into a chord. So you can go, like, A, B minor 7, C diminished.
Ooh.
C sharp minor 7 flat 5.
That's highbrow.
Right?
That's high. That's Rogue One.
Or the other one, too.
You're
You
going-
go, like, A, A7, D7, D sharp diminished.
This is supposed to be the easiest of the easy.
That's
You're
kinda cool.
crazy. This is crazy. Basically, the way to think about it is every note that you play can be turned into a root note for something else.
Yeah, and like a lot of these things, like use them as a launching point. Like that's what I like to do with these. It's like, okay, hey, I incorporated this tip, and it doesn't just like stop there. You start thinking more about it. How does this apply to what you do? What do you like about these sounds? Can you use that as like a diving board into something interesting that's unique to you?
Get creative. They could all be major chords. Oh, I love it. Is there anywhere these people can go to get more instruction from you specifically?
Well, I have got the Samurai Guitar Dojo, and in the Samurai Guitar Dojo, we do a weekly lesson, and the first block of lessons that we have over there is all about this kind of stuff. We look at like double stops for blues soloings, we look at using blue notes, we look at incorporating major and minor pentatonics. Like every week we do a new lesson, and the idea with this whole thing is like, a lot of people, they hit this intermediate wall with their playing. They just can't get over this hump. They're just playing the same thing over and over again, not improving. And with the dojo, it was, a way to get over that. It's a way to just get on autopilot, do the work, take the lessons, work on the stuff, and then you have something new to work on every week. And with these new skills, they stack up pretty quickly. And if you use the link in the description, you're going to gain access to that half off, $7.50 a month.
What? Is there some kind of PDF they could use as a precursor to all of these?
There is, you also, with that, you gain access to all of my other courses where we talk about some of this stuff too. There's a lot of stuff over there. And if you just want to check it out for free, we also have a free PDF that breaks down everything an intermediate guitarist probably should know. And we got a link for that in the description as well.
This isn't a replacement for my Patreon. This is in addition to my Patreon. We also even teach a little lesson together about learning songs quick.
We do.
So get yourself a hose of cable from Sweetwater and a guitar, maybe even the SD Signature. I don't know, whatever you want to do. Hit up the dojo, hit up the Patreon, go watch Rogue One, get inspired, and we'll see you in the next one.